I think there's some really big questions and deep questions that have to be answered about, what is enlightened governance, self-governance look like? What is it? Buddhism doesn't have a whole lot to offer that question, actually. That's
Really?
not been the main focus of Buddhist philosophical inquiry. It's been more about consciousness and the nature of consciousness rather than the nature of how we organize in society. The Western religious traditions focus on that a heck of a lot more. So I think there's some big questions there, like what would governance even look like from an enlightened perspective? It might not be Buddhist. It might be more of like a Western, something coming together with a Buddhist attitude. So I think there's some questions there about governance, and then like you said, value in terms of something that can convert to cash value, that kind of value. What does it look like to bring the value of generosity, for instance, into an economic system, and program how would you program generosity or compassion into the system? Like that's, to me, that's a really big question.
Sure. That's a cultural thing as much as it is a foundational distributed ledger kind of thing. And one of the things that I see as maybe an opportunity is that we don't have to have one answer to all of these questions. It maybe a SanghaDAO is better off as a network of SanghaDAOs where it's easy to fork, and if you disagree with how someone is programming their culture or their values, then you can fork it away and create something better. Is the possibility of open source software and crypto.
Yeah, because there's something here. One of the challenges that I would see with the SanghaDAO is having communities come together where there's enough of a shared agreement around how to be in community together.
Well,
that's how do you deal with that in the tech world? Because it seems like there's maybe a little less challenge dealing with that crowd, perhaps.
Well, in the Web2 technology world, we solve it with 20-page employment agreements that you take it or leave it, and you can't fork. In the crypto world, we solve it by association with the DAO via smart contract, in which you probably maybe stake some tokens, and then if it's not working out, then you can take your share of tokens back and you can leave them. And so that forkability and the ease of that social contract is sort of a feature in the crypto world, not a bug.
Right. You can move freely without a huge cost in between.
And I think that it's important that there's like enough value of a shared foundation there that it's worth even going through the pain in the butt of setting up MetaMask and getting tokens to even do it. And the opportunity that I see is basically like fundraising maybe for digital communities, which I'm keen to explore the relationship between the Dharma and money and how that would transform here. But also the opportunity to create a shared Schelling point in social culture around just the idea that Buddhism is a good thing, and we want to have digitally native Buddhism. Like that Schelling point, I think, creates maybe an opportunity to spread more Dharma, to create more economic liberation, so that people can be more Dharma-like, consume the Dharma, going down that funnel that we talked about at the top of the episode to dependent happiness and then independent happiness, pulling more people around that, I think is like, how is a broad enough base of support? And then you can have all these like forked sub communities that have their own governance structures or things that they're pursuing on top of the network of networks.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're probably describing is just the realistic way that networks evolve.
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, you have a better vantage point on that in the crypto space than I do, but I see that happening in cultures of people naturally. Like people will get together. There's enough of a shared interest that they want to talk about some possibility or potential. Like, what if we upgraded our, and used a crypto network as the basis for our whatever? It's like, oh my gosh. But then you start getting into it. It's like, well, who should be able to make the calls? How do we make the decisions? All of those questions about like the actual nitty gritty of how does it work, and the effort that's required to make it work. That's where people get contentious.